Hello, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to the Data Analytic Group. And first of all, a warm welcome to all of you for joining this session. And our today's speaker is Dhrivin Shah. He's an Microsoft MVP, the Business Applications and Data Platform, and he's a certified trainer. And he's also one of the organizer at Teletech community. And I feel like he is my very best related to it because he's this is the first event under Deletech community. I mean, like a data analytic group, and also I got an opportunity in Deletech community where I was one of the organizer. I feel proud to be an organizer first in the Deletech community, and also I just started this data analytic group where we want to share this knowledge sharing on the data domain. And today's he is going to talk about Power Apps and related to the design smart, scale fast, and the pro tips related to the responsive Canvas app. And Dhrivin, I hope you are there in the call. So I'm
Yeah.
handing over to you, and thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks for joining. Yeah.
All right, great, great. Thank you so much, Rajendra, for this wonderful introduction, and thanks a lot for having me to this community group. And I'm always love to share my knowledge with each and every one of you. So today I'm going to talk about how you can get started specifically with the responsive Canvas app. We are going to talk about some tips and tricks around the Canvas application responsiveness. Obviously, there are different aspects and so many things involved while we are designing the responsive canvas app. So we will get started with that over here. Now, but before that, I would like to start my session today in a fashion because personally, I'm living in Ahmedabad where recently this incident is happening. It's very sudden and very heartfelt moment for every one of us. AI, we all know that Air India AI 171 has been crashed, and it's a very dark day in the memory of this aircraft, and almost 200 plus people lose their life, and so many things has been happened around that. And just it's just a weekend after that sudden incidents, and the place where I'm living, it's the same place, Ahmedabad, and where this happened. The entire city is in shock. So many things are happening around here. So let's just take a 2 minutes condolences for all the people who lose their life in this AI 171 tragedy. So before we get start with our session, just let's pray for their lives. Uh, we can't do much on that part, but at least we can pray for their families and just give us our condolences to them. So I would like to take everyone 1 minute time to just do a prayer, and then we can continue our session. All right. So I'll pause here for a moment. All right. Thanks a lot for being a part of this uh, condolences. And now we will start the session. I know it's very everywhere in the news, everywhere we are hearing this news. So it's very shock sudden, and I can't even imagine what had happened just within a 2 minutes of time. So life is very unpredictable. So yeah. So now let me get started with today's session agenda where we are going to talk about the responsive Canvas app. So Let me just start with the introduction about me. My name is Dhruvin and I'm Microsoft MVP and Microsoft Certified Trainer. Basically, I'm leading the Power Platform and M365 practice and having 10 plus years of industry experience and trained 1500 plus professionals worldwide. Over 1100 plus videos I published on my YouTube, Instagram, and different social media handles. Now, without further delay, let me just talk about like what is responsive canvas application and how usually it works and what are the things you need to consider in your mind when you are designing the responsive canvas application. So the very first thing I just want to talk about that what is responsiveness of the Canvas app application. Most of the time we know that Canvas applications are not responsive by design, which means that whatever you build, if you want to make it responsive, you need to do a special treatment for that. It's not natively responsive like more how we are having with the model driven application. So for that, what we need to do is we need to use a specific set of controls inside our Canvas app application. And what are those controls? How to utilize those control and what when to choose what type of containers? That's what I'm going to teach you into this particular session. Again, a responsive Canvas app is a huge topic. I mean, whenever we are starting any industrial project and when there is a need of building the responsive Canvas application, obviously the effort of building those applications are more compared to we are building the non-responsive Canvas application because so many pieces are involved into that. Like you need to think about the containers, you need to think about the dynamic formula, you need to think about dynamic positioning, and that is something usually taking some sort of time. All right, so let's start exploring that thing into detail. Obviously, within 1 hour, we will not build the end-to-end complete responsive app, but at least we will reach to the point, at least from where you will get an idea that, okay, how to proceed further around that. Okay, and couple of things as well we need to consider here while building the responsive Canvas application is most of the time I hear that people are literally struggling with the containers. Most of the time we are facing the challenge is that okay, what type of container to choose? Should I choose horizontal container? Should I choose vertical container? How to set the positioning dynamic? That's what the main key points we are having in our mind. Apart from that, there on the internet there are so many resources available. Like I personally created so many videos around responsive app. Other popular YouTube content creator also created so many videos around responsive canvas. So you can just follow that and do that. But at least for that, some sort of foundation should be cleared, some sort of base should be cleared. That base is something I'm going to talk about into this particular session. So people who don't know what's responsive canvas application, for them it's just a matter that whatever application you will open, it will be maintain this the resolution depending on the screen size, which means that if you are opening your in your mobile phone, the design should be shrink and according to that it should work. You know, if I give you simple example, how you are accessing Amazon.com or Flipkart.com on your web version versus how you are accessing that in your mobile version, right? In mobile, the layout should be shrink, menu options are a little bit different, right? So same thing will work over here in the Canvas application world as well. So let's get started with that. When we talk about the responsive Canvas application, the first question arises in our mind that, okay, why we are requiring such kind of thing that why we need to build the responsive Canvas application and what are the key things at enterprise level which are considered when building this kind of application. So let me just tell you a couple of reasons where we need the responsive design at enterprise level. Number one is multi-device workforce. Most of the time, what happens is many organizations who are working the in-person, in-office staff versus on-site staff, they are mostly working with the multiple devices. Like on when they are in office professionally, they are using the computers and laptops, and when they are on the field, probably they are using some tablet devices or they are using some phone devices, right? So at that time, we really require this kind of features where responsive Canvas application become a necessary for them, because obviously the way we are designing our interfaces, it should be designed in a fashion that it should be mobile friendly as well. It should also work on the lower latency. It should not be very heavy. So all of those aspects we need to consider in our mind when we are building those kind of responsive app design. Then second is generally as we are I said, field staff people generally uses the mobile devices at the time it requires cost-effective maintenance. Now, let me tell you one thing. Most of the time when we are talking about the different device sizes, right? So at the time, it's not something that, you design the different application for each different device. Otherwise, maintenance become horrible, and functionality change is something you need to do at the multiple places. So it should be like a one solution which should work on your desktop, which should work on your mobile, which should work on your tablet. So there should not be the separate app for that. So for that as well, this responsive canvas application concept is really helpful to us. Okay. Apart from that, you also need to consider about some of the brand quality. So again, when we are talking about when you run your own company and when you are creating such application, right? The expectation is your branding element, like your headers, your logos, your design element of the screen, your colors, your backgrounds, right? That should be properly work with the each of the resolution. And again, it should not be like, if you open in the mobile, it should look very ugly or very dirty, right? Because generally nowadays we are living in an era that mobile has more accessibility than any other devices. So most of the time people are asking for such thing that, okay, whatever you build, we should able to support that from our phone as well, because many times on the remote locations as well as manufacturing units as well as some plants, they don't have the privilege with the devices like laptops or computers. So at that time, obviously, they need this kind of responsive application. So these are the cases which come up into our mind that responsive app design is very necessary at the enterprise level. Let me talk about some more use cases where this responsive design is really needed. Specifically, let me talk about like sometimes what happen here is we have seen many softwares and many applications where in desktop version they are providing more feature set, but in the mobile layout they are providing less feature set. Just and why? Because obviously, like if you make your mobile screen or mobile design is very heavy, obviously it will take some time to load. And certain operations are something people are never going to do from the mobile. Obviously, to work in that fashion, they obviously require some sort of desktop version and all. At the time, you can always design the desktop version of the Power Apps. So we can customize in a fashion that, okay, certain pages you can only design for mobile, certain pages you can make it responsive. It's something fully a combination with the help of your requirement. Nowadays, mobile first is something which many organizations uh, prefer, but still, Power Apps is mainly built for the business application, right? And business application, most of the time, people are accessing from the secure devices like desktop or tablets. So there is a less need, but at least before you start your requirement, you can bring up couple of points to that user that, okay, how many people are going to use the mobile device versions of versus how many desktop. Okay, if it is 10 to 15%, then then obviously we need to decide that, okay, what are the specific screen which really they need to make it like a responsive, and probably only those screens you can target with a lesser functionality. But let's say if your user base is more like 70-80% are going to use from mobile only, then obviously you need to design almost of all your screens into the responsive fashion. All right. Now let's get started with the actual application development process. So you will get a better context that how to get started with the responsive canvas application and what are the other things are available over here for having the responsive application. So let me just tell you there are two ways to start the responsive canvas application. Number one is you just go to the home create option over here, and there is an option available over here called start with a blank canvas. Just click on that and there is an option available over here called responsive. You just choose that responsive option over here, and basically from here you can just start with the responsive canvas application design by default. You don't need to make any other configuration over here because it's out of the box available only. So let me just let it to be just open and let's see how it looks like. And here I am. you can see the responsive canvas application created by default. And if you have observed this thing over here, that okay, this is your screen one, and over here you can see this screen template is automatically created and it's fully responsive. If you just play it, you know, here you can see in full screen mode, this is how it looks like a header, its middle section and its footer section. And let's say if I change the resolution to the tablet, you know, you can see that in tablet as well, it just shrink its width property automatically, and this is how the uh, overall app looks like. And same way, if you open the same thing into iPhone like this, and again, like I can change the orientation as well. So in this is how it looks like, right? Because it's responsive by default in the nature. All right. There is one more way as well to get started with the responsive canvas application. So this is first way, you just choose the responsive app and this is what it is offering. All right. Now, the thing is that this question arises into our mind that let's say if I have any existing Power Apps which I want to make it responsive, what is the way? Because I never started with this responsive app. And honestly, that feature that I just talked about, that creating responsive canvas application as an option, this feature was available like I mean recently around 6 7 months back they have introduced this option as the responsive. Earlier this option was not there. So most of the time we generally start our journey either with a tablet or phone size. But let me tell you, when you are targeting any mobile friendly designs, always start with the tablet size, always start with the bigger resolution. So smaller resolution will become easy. If you start with phone, to make it bigger resolution is a difficult task. So always start with that. Now let me talk about the existing application concept over here. And let me just talk about one more thing over here. So I'm just having one solution over here with me. And let me just create one application inside the solution. So when you, let's say for an example, I'm creating on app and clicking on canvas application from here. And let's say I'm just providing application name as um, data analytics community group. And I'm just clicking on create. Basically, this will create a non-responsive canvas application. So you can see right now, this is my screen at this point, and you can see that I do not see the responsive design over here, or not any responsive screen has been added over here. All right. Now, the thing is that let's say if you have this kind of scenario, then can I make this app design responsive? Is there any way to do that? So of course, yes, there is a way to do that. And for that, what you need to do is simply go to the three dots and click on scaling gear. Go to the display option, and there is an option available over here called scale to fit. First thing is that you need to turn off that option, because right now what happened is for all the non-responsive canvas application, scale to fit option is by default enabled. So what happens here is as soon as you play your application, it just scale according to the screen size where you are opening the application. But here it's a little bit different process. What you need to make is simply turn off this. So I'm just turning this off first and click on close. As soon as you turn off this and try to play this around, you can see now your application is opened into full screen mode like this. All right. So now it become responsive. This is first step. Okay. And second step afterwards you need to perform here is you need to check about like how to make this screen responsive. Because the thing is that right now, the screen is something you enable that option, but it's still not 100% responsive. Okay. And the thing is that in Canvas application, whenever we want to use the app as a responsive way, we always need to use two containers inside the world of Canvas application. So to make the responsive Canvas application, these two containers are very important, horizontal container and vertical container, because based on this two container, your app will do all the heavy lifting for you, whether it's a shrink or whether it's stretch or whether it's dynamically change the position, everything is depending on these two containers. And most of the time, 99% of the cases I have seen, that people are literally struggling with these two container types, because most of the time we have the confusion that what container to use. Should I use the vertical or should I use the horizontal? Okay, at least with this session, you will have that confidence with you that what type of container to choose, which I'm going to talk about in a while. Okay, but before that, let me just talk about some of the interesting properties of the container first. Okay, number one, which I want to talk about is whenever you make this app responsive, you need to go to the app command over here. Okay, and go to the on different property over here, and there is one option available called size breakpoint. Now, what does this size breakpoint mean by? Okay, so generally the question arises that how does my power apps will know that okay, this app is open in the mobile or tablet or desktop or whichever device, right? So this size property will give you that information. So currently, out of the box size breakpoints are divided into three parts: 600, 900, and 1200 resolution. Okay, which means that if your screen size is 0 to 600, 600 to 900, 900 to 1200, and the last element is greater than 1200. Okay, this is how usually this size bracket works. Now to prove my point, let me just do one thing over here. I'm just adding one label control on my screen over here at this point. Okay, and let me change its color a little bit first. And here I'm printing one variable. So what I'm doing here is this is my screen one. So what I'm writing here is screen one dot width. Okay, let's just decide that okay, how much width I have at this point. So it's 1366. Okay, so it will tell me the width of the application. Okay, and let me take one more label over here as well. And over here, let me just write a property screen one dot size. So this will tell me what's the size of the screen. And this size is something which I just explained to you, which is defined by this size breakpoint 600, 900, and 1200. Okay, now let's test this functionality. All right, so currently I just opened my application into full screen mode. So you can see it is showing me the resolution. I mean, my screen width is 1744. You know, my screen width is looking like this. Okay, and over here size breakpoint is showing me 4, because obviously 0 to 600 it will return you 1, 600 to 900 it will return you 2, 900 to 1200 3, and greater than 400 it's like this. Okay, let's say for an example, now if I'm making my size a little bit smaller, so let's I'm picking up some sort of iPad over here. Okay, and you can see the size is changing to 1180, which is less than 1200, so it just gives you the size breakpoint as 3. And now let me just make it up like iPhone, like smaller device for the iPhone into portrait mode like this, right? And over here you can see that size is screen size is width is 375, and it's just giving you the breakpoint as 1. So this is your benchmark that using this at least you will get to know that okay, what would be your screen size, and based on that you can apply your logic or apply your formulas for yourself. Okay, now the question arises in our mind that okay, can I customly design my breakpoints over here? So let's say for an example, mainly this 3 out of the box is enough. We don't need to target so many screen resolutions over here. Okay, but let's say for an example, still you want to target some more screen size, you can design it over here. Okay, so let's say for an example you want 600, 900, 1200, then maybe the next one you want to have like a 1600, and after that maybe you wanted to have like 1800, and then maybe 2200. Okay, so you can just increase the size breakpoint if you want. Now, what happened here is depending on that, it will show you appropriate stuff. Okay, now let's play this around and let's see now what it is returning to us. Okay, so I'm just copying these breakpoints over here, just uh, just for the rough work. Just give me a minute. I'm just opening my blank slide over here somehow, and let me just paste this resolution over here. Okay, so this is what we had right now. Now let's test it out. So when I play this around, and let me just make my resolution as Windows size. Okay, and right now you can give, you can see here 1744. Okay, so 1744 is fall under in between these two, right? And what would be the number? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. It's in between these two. So 0 to 600, 600 to 902, 900 to 1200, 1200 to 1600, 4, and 1600 to 1800 is 5. So that's the reason why it is giving me the size breakpoint as 5 over here. Okay, you can change the out of the box one as well. So let's say for an example, instead of 1200, maybe you need 1100. You can change that as well. So according to that, it will just give you the appropriate resolution size. I mean size number over here that, okay, what would be your screen size? Okay, but don't define too many resolution for yourself. Most of the time, I think this out of the box is well planned. Maybe we can just design it for this three. Most of the time, this resolution covers most of the screen sizes. Okay, so this is all about the size breakpoint, which I wanted to talk about. Now, let's talk about one more level up from here where we will talk about the containers. Like, okay, what's the purpose of container and what's the horizontal container and vertical container and how to shrink it away. Okay, because this is the key, like how you can get start with any design. Then of course, there are, if you want to make gallery responsive, form responsive, certain set of formulas you need to prepare. But at least first of all, you need to decide that how your screen template you should design. Okay, so out of the box, when you are working with the Power Apps, there are many responsive layouts available. Like this is like a blank layout. Then you have a split screen like this kind of layout, or this kind of sidebar count of layout, header and footer layout. So let me just place one of the layout over here. Okay, and this is like a responsive containers screen that is already been available for you. Now when you play this, this is how it looks like, and when you open the same thing in the mobile, you know its containers are shrink and they are just looking like this. Okay, now the thing is that these are the out of the box layout, right? But the thing is that when we are working with the actual industrial project, out of the box layout sometimes not useful to us, because obviously our design will be the fully custom and depending on the customer's need and expectation. So this designs sometimes are not useful. Sometimes let's say my customer is saying to me that, okay, Dhruvin, we need some sort of right navigation over here, and we need header like this way, and probably I need one more screen like this way. Okay, then no template is available which automatically survive with this need. So obviously at that time, we just need to design our template by our own. Okay, so how we can get started with this completely responsive design? Let's have a quick tour around that, and I'm going to show you some tricks and tips around that as well, that how you can make a decision that what kind of container to add. Okay, but first of all, let me just explain you one simple thing over here. Just give me a minute. Let me just say this thing over here. Okay, and let me just open this blank paint over here. Okay, now first of all, let me just explain the very basic terminology, what is horizontal and what is vertical. Okay, so let's say for an example, I have two boxes over here like this. This is like a two simple English terminology, horizontal and vertical. Let's say for an example, when we are talking about the horizontal, what do we mean by that? Means that, okay, if I place one box and I want to place it horizontally, it should be like this. Okay, horizontal means left to right. Okay, and what is vertical? Vertical means this is top and this is bottom. So it's top to bottom. So let's say if I'm placing one element here, second element will place just after that. So vertical means top to bottom approach, and horizontal means left to right approach. Okay, now this is like a simple English terminology. Okay, now if I go here inside the Power Apps, let me take one more new screen here, right? And over here, when we search for the container, we are able to see these two type of container, horizontal and vertical container. Now, how to apply that on the screen to design our screen? Let's have a look around that. But before that, let me just explain you a couple of theoretical screens over here so you can get better context around that. So first, let me place the horizontal container on the screen, and this is how it looks like. Now, as I said, let's place some element inside that. So I'm taking one button control in that like this. So it just plays here. Okay. Let me take one more control inside that. So I'm taking another button, another text control, another maybe drop down control, right? So this is how it looks like. Okay. So what horizontal container is doing here is all the element it just places from left to right like this horizontally. It places the things horizontally like this. Okay. And while what is vertical container? Let me copy the same container and paste it over here. And now let me make it vertically. Okay. And now you can see that vertical container means it just places the element vertically. So you can see first element, second element, third element, and fourth element. Right? So horizontal container, as I said, it just make the element like this horizontally, and vertical means vertically it just places out. Also, it offers us so many different properties that we need to target here. Number one property is gap property. Gap means in the element that you have placed in between that, if you want to apply any kind of spacing, you can just define by the gap property. So let's say I'm selecting this element and let's say I'm making as a gap as 20. So in between all of this, it just places the 20 pixel gap over here for you. You know, you can see here everywhere it just placed the 20 pixel gaps. And same way here, let's say you are here and let's say for an example, if I make here like a 20 pixel gap, so with each element it just plays that gap for you. Okay. Apart from that, it also offers some property called wrap property. Now what do we mean by wrap property? So let's say for an example, right now you can see that this is my horizontal container and you can see this is the drop down I do have over here. Okay. Now let's say for an example, there are two type of scrolls available inside the container: horizontal overflow and vertical overflow. So horizontal overflow is usually at the horizontal scroll, and vertical overflow will basically add the vertical scroll. So let me just turn on the horizontal overflow as a scroll. So what happen here is usually this is adding this kind of scroll over here. Let's say if your container size is small and if you are adding more element towards the horizontally like this, usually it adds scroll. So you can scroll through the different things into the element. Okay. Same way for vertical container as well. If you look at this, it will provide you the option to add the scroll over here as well. So let's say if your container is small and if you are having more elements, so you can always have this kind of scroll to scroll through. Okay. But let's say for an example, if you just don't want to use the scroll and if you want that, okay, no matter, I added more elements, but if as soon as it hit this particular width, it should automatically wrap to the new row. If you want to do that, you can simply turn on the wrap property. And as soon as you turn on the wrap property, you can see your element automatically shrink down towards downwards. Okay. And same way over here as well for a vertical gallery. If you make the wrap property on, automatically it just wrap your element from top to bottom to this kind of way that okay, first this and then this, and maybe if you increase the size it will just go by default to its default stage. Okay. So this is how the wrap property usually works inside the horizontal and vertical container. Okay. Also, there are some other important properties also available. Like, okay, when you select any control from any of the container, it also provide you one option over here that, okay, I selected this button over here. Okay. And let's say for an example, when you pick up any particular control over here, okay, it provides you the option of flexible width. Okay, now what is flexible width? Okay, so generally what happen here is flexible width means, you know, your container size is this much at this point. Okay, so still you can see this much of space is left inside your container. So when you turn on the flexible width, probably at that time it will capture those space as well. So you can see your button size increase automatically because few still some steps, some sort of spaces were there. And usually if you do it for all of your element as flexible width, what would be happen is, you know, it just equally divide the overall space into this uh, according to its width. Okay, now you can do it in a different way as well. Let's say for an example, this is your button, and maybe if you need some bigger width over here, probably there is an option fill portion. So when you write 3 out of 4, okay, so you know, you just see it just increase its width, and according to that other elements are adjusted. So you can just define it by a fill portion as well over here. Same way over here as well, it will provide you the option, but in vertical case, it usually provide you the option for flexible height. Flexible height means whatever height of your container will be that. According to that, your elements are trying to shift its positioning. Okay, so this is like a flexible height property. Now, let's see it in a more practical way, that how you can design your own custom template for responsive design, which you can leverage for your application design. Okay, so let me just talk about that thing in very high level in detail over here. So let me take one fresh screen over here, because we are not going to use out of the box screen template. We are going to build up our screen completely from the scratch for ourselves. So I'm just taking one blank screen over here. Okay. And now let's say I have one requirement where probably I need to design this kind of uh, template for myself. That okay, my customer is requesting that, okay, Dhruvin, we need this design. Like, okay, this is my screen. Let me just draw it over here into this fashion. This is my screen. Okay, I want to divide into this way. So my main screen is defined by this black border. Now I need this side some sort of a grid view. Okay, so he's just saying me I need this way. Then I need over here whichever space is left, like this is the space which is left. I need some sort of let's say I want to draw one different color over here. I need some header over here first. Then over here in the center, I will add some sort of form or something else. And at last, I want to add some sort of footer like this. Okay, so this is the requirement that he has given to me. Okay, and again he is adding some more level of complexity as well, that okay, uh, whatever your middle section, I mean header section will be over here inside, somewhere I want to place some sort of home icon over here to go back, and uh, probably here it should be my header. Okay, and same way he is just telling me that okay, in the middle section of course you will add the form, but I need one more layout over here on the right hand side like this, which is like a some sort of display panel where he just wanted to show some information to the user. Okay, now this entire thing he wanted to make it as a fully responsive. So as soon as the resolution is changing, this entire container that we are having on the right hand side, it should be moved towards downwards, and you know, it should not spoil my design according to that. Okay, so we need to design the entire thing according to that. So how we can get started with such requirement when you have this kind of complex design structure with you? Okay, right now, at least for this session, we will not go through this level of complexity, but at least let's decide up to this point to reach how you can make your mind to thinking in a fashion that if I want to build this kind of screen layouts, how can I think? What kind of container should I use? And what kind of elements I need to place into? Okay, so there is a short trick around that which I'm going to teach you over here. So the very first thing is that think in a fashion. How you want to place your element? You want to place it as a vertical or you want to place it as a horizontal. So if you want that, okay, you want your element to be horizontally aligned, then choose the horizontal container. If you think I want the element to be placed one after another, then do the vertical container. Okay. Now in this case, what we will do, let's talk about that here. Okay, so let's think about our parent container first. You know, this outside container, black line that I have drawn here, what container I need to do there? So think that, okay, that is my root container, but in that container, I want to place this left side and this right side. Okay, both are side by side, which means I want to place it horizontally. Okay, so my first container will be the horizontal container. Outside container will be what? Horizontal. Okay, so let's start drawing that right away. So you will get an idea around that as well. Okay, so here I'm on my screen and let's draw one container over here and let's define the container type as a horizontal container. Okay, and let's make its width as parent dot width, and let's make it like this, and let me just make it bigger like this. Okay, and now over here as well I want to do one thing. Let me just provide some sort of background color to my container so you can understand how it looks like. So I'm just providing this kind of green background at this point. So this is like your root container. Okay. Now we know that inside that I want to draw this and this like this. Okay. So obviously we are placing this both the square side by side, right? So it will be like your, that's the reason why your top container is a horizontal container. Okay. Now, the thing is that this two now you need to decide that, okay, what container type should be it and what container type should it be. Okay, so you know that in this is where I want to show some sort of grid or some other element, but obviously it's a very small section. So obviously I will place the element, you know, vertically. I'll not place the, you know, something horizontally. So obviously like something I'll place here, something I'll place here like this, right? So let's make it like, you know, I want to make inside the element part as a vertically. So this container will be the vertical container. Okay, so select the main container, go again to the container and let's choose one vertical container. So I'm adding one vertical container over here and make sure you turn off its flexible height, flexible width property, and let's change the color of it so you will see it clearly. So I'm just providing this kind of blue color over here and this is how it looks like over here. Okay, so this is like your vertical container. All right, you can also define the width property as well, that okay, minimum how much width you want. So let's say I'm making it 400, so this much of width I needed, so I'm just making around that. Okay, so this is my vertical container. Okay, obviously because inside that I want to place everything vertically. Okay, same way, right hand side we need to design now, right? So in right hand side as well I need inside that three elements, one, two, and footer. Okay, so how I'm going to place all of this? So I'm going to place all of this vertically, right? It's not horizontally. One after another I want to place. So obviously here as well I need to take a vertical container. So again I'm selecting here. Let's add one more vertical container and that's how it looks like. And let me just make the color change. So I'm just making this kind of orangish color over here, and that's how it looks like over here. Okay, and now I'm selecting this uh, root container over here, and let me provide some sort of gap here, like 20 pixel of gap. So you can clearly see that in the background you have your parent container as a horizontal, where you place two vertical containers inside that. Okay, and you can always provide some sort of uh, border radius as well to your container if you want. Okay, but let's right now just make it simple over here. All right, now in this section, now I need one header, one middle section, and one footer. Okay, now what type of container I will choose, because this is my vertical container, right? And in vertical container, how I want to place the other elements. Okay, so in header, obviously you will place some label over here and your home over here. So you will place like horizontally, right? Control you will place horizontally. So for header, maybe you select this container, add, and this time let's add one horizontal container first. So I'm just adding one horizontal container over here, and let's just make its flexible height as false, and let's provide it some sort of color. So I'm making some sort of grayish color like this for my header, and let's choose its width property, I mean height property, fix that. Okay, I need 100 pixel height over here for my label. Okay, now whatever you will place here, it will be placed horizontally, because obviously in header I need horizontally. Okay, then I need, like, okay, now in the same content I need middle section. Okay, now in middle section I have two things. You know, one thing, as I told you, that I want to have some form here, as well as I want some sort of status kind of thing over here. Okay, so I need one of the box here and one of the box here. So obviously this box and this box, we are placing it horizontally with respect to that context, right? So we'll take another box over there as a horizontal container. So I'm just adding one more container over here, and again let's take one horizontal container. Okay, let's turn off its flexible height property. So it will look like this. And let's just define its height over here as 600 pixel like this. Okay, and let's change its color so you can see it clearly. So I'm just changing its color to this kind of yellowish color. Okay, and now this is my horizontal container. Okay, let's just design that. Inside one, we will do it later, but at least horizontal container looks good. And at last, we need footer control, right? So let's add one more container. So I'm just adding one container. And again, I'm just placing that container as a vertical container. Okay. So I don't need to place it over here. Just cut this out. Select this and then add one vertical container, because in footer I just need some sort of text, right? And I don't want any more element into that. So maybe you can take vertical container for that. So I'm just taking that out over here, and that's how it looks like. And minimum height, let me just provide it to 50 pixel like this, and let me change its color as well. Okay, so I'm just changing its color to this kind of teal color over here. Okay, and that's how my this section is also ready. So here I have my left navigation, my header, my middle section, and my footer. Okay, so this is how it looks like. Now the thing is that inside this section, again I want to divide into two parts. Over here I want to have like a left pen, and here I want to have some sort of form. Okay, so again, like how you are going to place this. Okay, already I have this middle section as a horizontal container. So I can place both the new container side by side, that's done. But inside that container, what you are going to place now? You are going to place one form at the one side, and you are going to place some sort of other content on the other side. So what you will do, click on the plus button here, and now both the side you want to place the element vertically. Okay, so let's add two vertical container inside that. So I'm adding one vertical container here. So it just added inside that over here. Let's turn off its flexible width. So it will look like this. Okay, let's change its color a little bit so you can see it properly. So let me pick up some sort of custom color over here. So this is how it looks like. Okay, and let me add one more vertical container as well. And that's how it looks like. And let me choose its color as well, a little bit different. So I'm just making its color as this kind of other yellowish, and it is dividing into two parts over here. Okay, now the thing is that two part it just divided equally, but I don't need the equal size. I need this section to be little bit bigger and this section is to be little bit smaller. So what I'll do here is I'll simply select this one over here, and you can just turn on this option called flexible width property. Okay, and as soon as you do that, you can supply like minimum how much width you need and how many portions you need from it. So I can say I need two portion of this and one portion of this, or maybe you can increase that. Okay, I need three portion and one portion is this. Okay, so that's how it looks like. But what would be the minimum width of this? Minimum width I want that. Okay, what's the overall section width of this one? If we look at the width is 250, right? So what I'll define that, okay, when it's changing the resolution, at least I need 250 width for it. Okay, and that's how it looks like over here. So my at least the base screen design is ready, and this is like a key. Most of the time, this is something which is deciding that how good you are at the responsive app design. So this is where your container positioning look like. Okay, now, the thing is that how to add the element inside this now. So now if you just want to add something like gallery, just select the container and add the gallery. Okay. And now your gallery looks like here. You want to add some header. Let's go and add some header control over here. Right. And that's how it looks like. Over here, let's say if you want to add some sort of form, let's add some form, and that's how it looks like. Okay. Currently, I'm not adding any source at this point. Okay, maybe let me just connect any simple out of the box data source over here. All right, and probably over here you just want to add some sort of labels or something. Okay, some buttons or something you want to add here. So you just select this container and start adding the element one by one over here. Like I added one button over here, I'm adding one more button over here. Okay, so you can just place it out the way you want. And at the footer, maybe you will add some sort of text control. Okay, and probably you can just use some other property to change it out. Okay, now let's play this thing around and let's see how it looks like. Okay, so you can see that this is my smaller screen resolution. Inside that I can see it like this way, but still it didn't scroll me this up. Okay, we will fix that later, but let's see how it looks like into canvas size, how it will look like into the tablets like this, right? And if I do the mobile, right, on the portrait mode, this is how it looks like. And if we just shrink it like this is how it looks like. Okay, but there is one problem here, that in mobile I can see only the gallery. Those shrink element I cannot see here. Okay, so now let's work upon that why it was not showing me over there. Okay, so for that we need to do a little bit of work around that. Okay, number one is that whatever your root container here is there, make sure you enable the vertical overflow for that. Okay, so when you enable vertical overflow over there, what will happen is when you play that, okay, and let me just do one more thing as well. Let me turn on the horizontal one as well, like this. Okay, and now the thing is that for this one, we just make it that vertical overflow will be scroll. Okay, now the thing is that the height of the container is fixed at this point, 768, right? Now what I want is when my screen resolution is getting changed. So I can write one condition over here. If my screen one dot size is less than or equal to 1, which means that it will fall under the mobile resolution. At the time, I need the height to be doubled, 768 multiplied by 2. Otherwise, I need the height to be 768. Okay, I'm just applying this condition. Now let me play this around. Now, as soon as you do this activity, let's see. And let's do one more thing here as well. Let's add one text control on the screen over here. And let's print over here screen one dot its size. Size. Okay. So now I'm playing this around. I'm getting one, you know, but still I do not see any scroll at this point over here. Okay. Now let's see. It's 4 over here. This is my container. My scroll is enabled and I need to turn on the wrap property as well. So turn on the wrap property as well. And as soon as you turn on the wrap property, your design will be little bit spoiled. Because what happens is when you enable the wrap property, obviously for each of the container that you have over here, you need to supply its minimum height over here. So let's supply over here minimum height as 768 like this. And now let's play around that. Okay, so this is like minimum height of this container will be 768, and same way for this container as well we need to provide that minimum height should be 768. Okay, and now let's play this around, and now you can see the scroll is being enabled over here. At least the scroll is enabled perfectly, but I cannot see the still the element. Okay, let's see why. So we just enable this main container, this containers as again 768. This is also something which we define that minimum height should be 768. Okay, and again over here I just don't want the wrap to be enabled, and you can just do this scrolling into this fashion. So this is my container, first container, and wrap properties turn on, and for other two as well. Inside this left container, I don't want to wrap to be turned on. This is also fine, but at least for this, as soon as the screen resolution drop, it should change. Height should be this. Okay, let me just do one thing right now just for the testing purpose. Let me make its overall height as 1500 at this point. Okay, and let's see if I'm able to see the shrinked element over there or not. And what's the minimum width of this whole container? Let's just talk about that as well. Height is 768 and width I can say is maybe let's take 300. And now let's play this around. It has added the scroll over here for that container, but it's still not shrinking down. 1500. And we just scroll is hidden. Scroll, let me just, let me just make this wrap property. Table height, let me just make it turn off. I understand one thing here probably because this is the container. Just a minute. Wrap is obviously we need to on, and this is my first container. Its minimum width is 400. 250. Let's make it like this. And this containers, just a minute. Start with this container. It looks like this. I'm doing something wrong. That's the reason why it is not shrinking up. I'm forgetting one of the property which this is where the highest struggle we are facing with the responsive design when we are trying to shrink the layout. It's not move sometimes because of some of the property might not been configured properly over there. So minimum height is 768. That's correct. This container, this is like my main. I'm just treating this main. This is my left, so I don't get confused myself. This is my right. And right's minimum width is what? 300 pixel. Hmm. See, it started moving now, but still it's not 100% move properly. Okay, now what's the reason for that is specifically you can see here, this is like your, I added the height over here, but I didn't increase my page size over here. So if you look at the screen 4, okay, it also has one property called height, right? And this height is not getting increasing over here at this point. All right. So probably here as well, I just need to supply some sort of condition that, okay, when this container size will be increasing. Okay, so this is my container over here, and I coded over here that, okay, it should be like a 1500 height over here. Okay, but the thing is that you provided this particular height of the container as 1500, but your page is still the small with a smaller height. Okay, so you need to probably set up the screen height as well bigger. But right now, at least, you are able to see that it just shrink it up, it just wrapping up, it just showing it up because I just decreased the height of this left component a little bit over here. Okay, now let me just do one quick thing over here, that let me just go to the screen and let me set the height property over here, 1500 at this point. Okay, and then maybe we can just conditioning it. Okay, but still it's not shrinking this up. Just a minute. We are very nearer to this. And now let me just go back to the screen, come back to the screen. We just remove and this container. We can again revert it back to the way we had earlier. So width is something which we just make it like 500 at this point. Let me just do it like a flexible width again, turn on, and let me just try this again. It's still wrapping this around. Only thing is that it is not getting enough height to completely shift it over here. Wrap and everything is proper, perfect. Just a minute. Just selecting this. Let me make it scroll here. Okay, and just give me a minute. Let me just see if I had did this any of my previous screens. Just give me a minute. This is how it moves the scroll here. Exact same thing we need to do. Just give me a minute. Let me just quickly check what I'm doing as a main mistake. Let me just check hide and scroll for the main container. Let me see for the main container, hide and scroll, and wrap is enable, which is perfectly fine. Then this left container, wrap is off, and height is 750 and width is 500, and wrap is off, perfect. And the next is this container. Again, wrap is off and flexible width is on. Right, wrap is off and flexible width is on. Width is on. Okay. Anything else I'm not specially doing here? Only these two things I have here. Yeah, and I think it should work after that. And at the main level, it's like a just like a parent dot height. Let me just change it to that. The root container will be okay. And now let's see. And yep, now I can able to see it's scrolling now. So I was just doing a mistake in setting up the height of the control. So we are just hard coding that height over here for the root container. So just make it like a parent dot height. So what happen is the wrap property will automatically shrink it up and automatically adjust that. Okay, this would be this, and probably this will be like this. Okay, so that's how you can shift your control. And
Hi, Dhruvin. Just give me a minute. Let me check with Dhruvin. There is some connection issue.
hello, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Sorry, my
yeah,
Teams
yeah,
was
Dhruvin.
crashed in between. Sorry, my Teams was
No,
crashed. Okay,
no
so
problem.
last thing I just wanted to talk about here, like, okay, if you just don't want any element in your smaller resolution, the thing you can do is, okay, this is this container probably if you don't need or maybe header you don't want, then you can always set up the visible condition of that. So you just set it up like this way. Go to here and set up visible property, and you can just make it up that, okay, if my screen one dot size is less than or equal to 1, then maybe I just want to make it like a false, otherwise I want to make it like a true. So what happen here is like for bigger resolution it will show you, but for smaller resolution it hide and just fill up this place. Okay, so that's how you can just make the positioning for yourself. Okay, apart from that, there are so many aspect into responsive canvas application design come up into picture, but the main highlight is, to decide your screen layout, the way we did like this horizontal, vertical container, and how to think about like what to choose and what's the rep property and how to shift your elements down. These all will decide over there at the time. Now you can do so many stuff here, like, okay, gallery level as well. If you want to now responsive design, then probably, for big resolution you need some different, for small resolution you need some different, then you can just adjust your card properties according to that. Okay, I have a dedicated playlist as well on my YouTube channel for the galleries responsiveness as well as forms responsiveness. So probably you can just watch it out. But the main idea here is how to start with or how to think about creating the responsive app design. Now, the thing is that same formula can be applied. If you already built the non-responsive application and now you want to make it responsive, the exact same fundamentals you need to try out over here into the similar fashion by adding the horizontal container, vertical container, and that makes your life simpler like this. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much it I wanted to talk about for overall responsive canvas application design. We know that we didn't added more forms and anything into that, but at least like base level design, how you can do, you can just go ahead with that. Okay, and let me share some link with you, a responsive link Power Apps. Um, this is what like gallery wise how you can create it out, and how your horizontal and vertical containers looks like. This will definitely help you. Just give me a minute. This is one of the video which I published it earlier. So this is like a similar thing, like you want to do completely gallery like a responsive layout like this. Like in mobile, on desktop version it should be like table. But let's say for an example, if you want that in smaller resolution, it should look something different, you know, then you can just use this one for yourself. So I'm sharing this one link over here in the chat window. Apart from that, there is one more thing that if you want to just make it like a completely end to end, responsive design, like with form and everything. The way we build right now, you can just follow this as well. Because right now I just place the placeholder, but you just want to build with completely form and this, I prepared that content as well. But yeah, the fundamental is same, which I just explained you right away. So these two videos will definitely helpful to you for that particular thing. And there is one more stuff also I have around responsive gallery is this one is you can create this kind of card layout for yourself for your gallery, and maybe this card will be looking different into the large device, and smaller device it looks some different. So how you can make this thing out, so probably you can just have a look around that as well. So but the main idea here is choosing the container, because that is the toughest task over here in the responsive app design. Even you have seen that on the screen share, I just forget to have the height property not set properly, and it was not shrinking me down. That's where we are highestly struggling with, and that's how you can deal with that. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much it. I would like to now hand over to Rajendra, and if we have any question, I'm happy to take this out from here.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Dubin, for an insightful and valuable session on Design Smart Scale First. We truly appreciate your time and expertise. There are some questions.
Uh-huh. Please go
Uh,
ahead.
yeah, it will support iPhones only from Karthik.
No, it will support iPhone, Android, any kind of mobile devices. It's not just iPhone, but any mobile device or tablet devices it support. It's just a matter that they need to install the mobile Power Apps application, and after that they need to just open the application into that.
Okay. And one more question. Do we need to use containers in responsive as well, or just going with galleries are fine? From
Uh,
Suresh.
So you need to use, if you are building the responsive canvas application, you must need to use the containers. Without containers, you will not be able to create the responsive canvas application. No matter it's a gallery or container, everywhere you need to use that out. Okay, perfect. Do we have any more question, Navya?
No.
Okay, okay, perfect. If anyone has any question, feel free to raise your hand. Maybe we can unmute them and maybe we can take a question. Otherwise, we are good to wrap up this session. Let me see. I can see raise hand from uh, Mudassir Sheikh. Maybe Navya, can you unmute him? Maybe he can just ask his question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just provided an access to him. So, Sheikh, can you please unmute yourself and can speak?
Yes, please.
Hi, thank you. Hi, Devin.
Yeah,
Could you
actually, your
please
voice is very low. If you can speak a little bit louder, please.
you know, login functionality?
Yes.
Can you please refer that one actually?
Sorry, what's your question is? Login functionality means what?
Login functionality. Like uh, people can be creating an login access. Once it is accessed, then only they can access the main form instead of I want to create an application for my organization for the recruiting, sorry, procurement. So I have gave everyone the access. It's like an open one, but I want to create an login functionality and check who are login in into the account and procuring.
Are you using Power Apps for that?
Yes.
So
Like
let me
I
tell,
have created one small app actually. Uh,
app in
our organization just started using this Power Apps, not full-fledgedly, but I'm just asking like, is there any login functionality for this one? For example?
so login is by default feature of the Power Apps. Power Apps cannot be accessed without login. So currently you see I'm already logged in with this account, like my Power Platform Trainings.com account. So when you share this link with the people, usually you know who that person is who has logged in into the application. So in generally this is the app link you usually share. So let's say for an example, I'm just pasting this link over here. At this point, this is my app, right? I shared with everyone, let's say. So people are signing using sign in first over here. So they are just entering the credential, and then only that Power App screen is going to be open. So I'm not sure, because in Power Apps you don't need to design a custom login screen, because it's by default feature. So this is what we just build, and now I'm just opening the application. So here the who the already logged in person is at this point. So no need to design a separate login module for that, because it's a native feature of the Power Apps. Until and unless if you are someone who is like, okay, you build one application and that application is always open in one of your tablet devices, and multiple people are coming into, or maybe how in the airport we are having the kiosk, multiple people are coming into and adding into. At the time, maybe you can create some sort of structure, that some unique number using which that what people are trying to access. That's a different story. But yeah, with respect to login name, password, and credentials, you don't need to do any extra activity for Power Apps. Hopefully that gives you your answer.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you so much.
All right, perfect. Anyone else has any other question before we wrap up today's session?
I don't think so, Drivin, in chat.
All right,
First of all, I would
perfect.
like to thank Drivin for your time. Thanks for doing this.
Most welcome, Rajendra. And I'm always happy to connect with the community event. So yeah,
Yeah,
all good.
yeah. Thanks, Drivin. Thank you so much. Thanks, people. Thanks for joining this session. I hope you like it. And please follow the link which I posted in the chat box. Yeah,
Yeah,
Thank you
thank
so
you
much,
everyone.
and bye everyone.
Yeah, thank you everyone who joined us today. We're looking forward to welcoming you to our future sessions. Thank you.
Thanks.
thank,
Bye.
thank you, Drivin. Thank you. Bye.